Hey guys, welcome back to Baby Back Maniac. I have got a great video for you guys today. So a few weeks ago, Harry Soo from BBQ Pitmasters on TV came to my house. Can you believe that? It's crazy. And we shot a video where we compared choice, prime, select, and Wagyu brisket in a blind taste test. I invited a bunch of my YouTube friends over, and I do hand movements now, and we all did a blind taste test of you know, which one we like better. And that video is up. It's a fun video. You got a real sense of how the day went. But in the course of shooting that video, I ended up with tons of footage on how to cook a brisket hot and fast. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how we prepped briskets in order to cook them. I'll come back in a later video and talk about how we cooked them, but as you can see, there's just a lot of footage and I had to break it up somewhere. So this video is going to tell you how Harry Soo, championship barbecue cook, preps briskets and seasons them up, and it's just a lot of fun. And I want to thank Troy and all the other guys, but I want to thank Troy for being the third camera on this one. He was the one that had his camera pointed at Harry's hands and added a lot to this video. I think you'll love it. If you're new to barbecue, you've never cooked a brisket before, this is going to tell you exactly what you need to know to get started on the right foot from a champion.
Everything I tell you today is a 3-hour argument. And we can sit here and have a debate and fist fight, roll on the ground like Jerry Springer. Some methods are preferred and some methods yield more consistent result. So what's trending in America today on the competition circuit is actually cooking hot and fast. We're going to trim 4 briskets today. I'm going to show Kenneth how to trim a brisket. So Kenneth has removed the packaging from the brisket. So this is known as the packer brisket. It comes with 2 muscles intact. So you heard the muscle called the burn end, and we have another muscle here called the flat. When the 2 muscles are intact, it's sewed together, and this sits on the chest of a cow. So this brisket here sits now on the right hand side. So this is the right brisket. There's also a left brisket and a right brisket. The first thing you want to do when you buy a packer brisket is you need to know how to pick it. So in this case, Justin's done the job for us. He's picked us 14-pound packer briskets, which will match the size of this one here, because we wanted it to be an even shootout among the 4 grades of meat. So we bought all of them about the same size. I'm going to show Kenneth how to trim this. So the first thing we want to do, Kenneth, is you notice there's a fat seam here. Yes, and a fat cap. So you want to take this part off. You can. And I'll start mine up so I can follow you along and kind of give you some pointers. And we can do a see as you go. So as I trim it, we get 1 camera on him and 1 camera on me. That way we will be able to see how we get through the different parts of the trim. And I'll talk you through it, and I'll do it, and then Kenneth will also do it. Now this brisket has been thawed for a while. Ordinarily I would trim a brisket when it's semi-solid, but because of time constraints, we're cooking hot and fast. We want to try to finish the cook in about 5 hours. If the brisket is really cold, it's not going to work. So Kenneth is trimming out the fat. I'm doing the same thing here on this one here. This is the prime. Yep. This is the prime brisket here. And we're going to remove all the fat like so.
Are you trimming competition style?
We are going to be trimming. We're going to be trimming competition style because it's faster. That way we focus on not the yield but on the speed of cook, because we're going to try to cook these briskets in about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm removing the silver skin and removing all the excess fat on the surface. So Kenneth, if you can do the same with me.
Yes, sir. Just
trim off the little silver skin here. Now the silver skin usually kind of burns off about 140 degrees, but you know, if you're fastidious like me, you want to trim off all the silver skin, because when you apply the product itself, it's going to end up on the fat, and I prefer that the rub ends up on the protein itself. So we trim up all the silver skin like so, get it off the top like so. Now on a competition trim, we remove all the fat in the eye. So if you can, just remove all the fat from the eye. Try not to cut too much and into the point muscle. So you can see already comparisons between this prime brisket here and the brisket that Kenneth is trimming. You look at the degree of marbling right here, and super duper marbled, and so this is a really good prime brisket. If you compare it against the fat that, one second, you compare against the fat here, you can see huge differences. So this is a choice brisket, this is a prime, so you can see the striations and the marbling much more pronounced. So marbling equals fat equals flavor, so you're gonna get a lot more flavor from a brisket that's very marbled. Now what I'm doing now is I'm taking the fat off the muscle here. This is called the point muscle. When you go and order brisket in a Texas restaurant, and when you go up to the serving line, the meat cutter is gonna ask you, sir, ma'am, would you like fatty or lean? This is the fatty, this is the lean on this side. I'm gonna trim it to size here. And because I want burn ends on both sides, I'm gonna flip it over like so. I'm gonna trim the back side. I'm gonna let Kenneth catch up here, but it's okay. We'll just keep going on this one here. And we'll give you guys the instruction on how to trim, and then we'll trim the rest off camera so it goes a lot faster. So this is a nice prime brisket. You can see the marbling on the point is absolutely gorgeous right here. Right here you can see that. Yeah, so beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Now, Justin, where is this from?
That's from Costco.
Costco, okay, so go to Costco. They sell good briskets here.
They do.
How much is it a pound?
$3.23.
Wow, that's really a steal.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Texas is beef country, right? I think statistically in the United States, you have more heads of cattle in Texas than any other state. If you look at all the states going down the middle of the United States, I think Texas is kind of like a 2-to-1 in terms of number of heads of cattle here.
We have a much harder time getting tri-tip. I know that's a lot more available in California. It's kind of hard to get our hands on that here.
And tri-tip is the bottom sirloin. It's a cut of meat that's very popular in California. We do a lot of Santa Maria style tri-tip. All right, so let me point the camera to one attention here. So when you trim a brisket, you trim using the visual cue, looking at a brisket. You also need to trim by a tactile feel of your fingers. So I noticed immediately when I trim this, there's a hard spot here. There is a ligament here. If you want to put a camera close by, you can see there's a ligament right here.
You got it. Okay.
Got it? Okay, all right. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to trim the ligament out because it's not good eating. So right here, I'm going to trim the little ligament off because it's hard. I'm going to let Kenneth touch it. Okay, Dan, go ahead and touch this thing and feel the ligament here. See how hard is it? So it's like a little ligament running into the side here. So I just trimmed it off. So when you're trimming briskets, always trim visually. Also trim using feel to make sure that you can get all the hard parts that are not good eating off the brisket. You don't have to do this for your poker buddies, but if you are in a competition, every piece matters because the judges are going to take one bite and that's all they're going to do. If you don't blow them away one bite, you're not going to be able to win the contest on that day. So you notice how I have trimmed up all of the fat here. I've trimmed up all the fat here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get beautiful burn ends from this part here. Because I've trimmed up the fat on both ends, I'm going to get bark on this side. I'm going to get bark on this side. And what's happening is on this brisket here, I need to get some flat slices, like so. Because I'm not going to use all the brisket, I'm going to remove the parts I don't need so the cook runs a lot faster. So if you know this little triangular shape right here, right? The grains are running this way. So I'm trimming going this way like this. I only need 6 perfect slices from here. I'm not concerned about this part, so this part really needs to come off like so. Right, this piece comes off. And this triangle in the end, I'm not going to be able to get good slices from the end. This end piece comes off like so. Right? And this piece here, I may have an overhang. I don't need this piece here. Let me trim this piece off. So this is a very radical trim. I don't recommend you trim this for your backyard because you lose so much yield. But if you're cooking competition, you're not concerned about yield. You're concerned only about winning a $10,000 check. So this is the final trim of the brisket. This piece from here, from the top flat part portion comes off. This piece from the corner for the flat comes off, and this corner end piece also comes off. So now I'm going to be able to get beautiful contest slices here. I'm going to be able to generate beautiful cubes of burn ends from the point muscle, and this is going to be morsels of beef heaven. Okay, all right, so here's the Wagyu beef, Snake River Farm Black, one of the best briskets out there that I like to use for competition. I'm gonna do a competition trim on it, and we're gonna save the pieces for pot roast because it's almost criminal to trim so much away and toss away so much expensive meat. A Wagyu Black like this will run you with shipping probably just over $200. And a question I always get asked by people is that, hey Harry, why should I pay $200 for a brisket when I can buy a brisket for maybe $40, $50? Is it worth 4 times? Is it 4 times better? Obviously the answer is no, because of the law of diminishing marginal returns. It doesn't mean you're paying something 4 times that it will be 4 times better. I think that it's probably maybe 10 to 20 times better. It's 10 to 20% better. When you are a competitor, you want to have every single advantage you can. When all the other teams are cooking like a Snake River Wagyu, you have to basically match it. When I first started competing about 10 years ago on the competition circuit, some of the judges were not used to the oily, unctuous flavor of Wagyu. But it seems like the folks in the judging tent today, at least on the West Coast anyway, the certified judges have gotten used to the fantastic flavor of the Wagyu briskets. So it's my belief, again, unverified, that if I cook a contest and I don't turn in a Wagyu, it's kind of hard to kind of wow the judges nowadays because everybody's cooking these meats. It's great also for backyarders who want to impress someone. So you have a favorite mother-in-law or father-in-law you want to impress. Ask for your partner's hand. This is definitely something you want to cook for them. So as before, you notice I'm running my knife into the fat seam here. What I'm doing is quickly separating the point muscle and the flat muscle, trimming off all the fat. And the marbling on this one is superb. I can also feel in my hands how soft and tender this brisket is before even I cook it, because that's the characteristics of Wagyu. Just very, very marbled meat. The animal itself is a crossbreed between the cow from Japan and the cow from America. That's why it's called American Wagyu. It's actually the Tajima cow from the prefecture in Japan where the cow is raised. So US breeders have selectively crossbred the Japanese black cow, the Tajima, with American Angus, because the Angus is much more sturdy. So the Japanese cows, apparently, the way I heard it, they don't do so well in the US conditions, so they crossbred it, create American Wagyu. I've actually visited a Wagyu farm in Oregon to see how the Wagyu is raised, and they are really well treated, very good animal husbandry, and they results in a superior product. So on the back side, I'm doing the same thing, trimming off all of the fat from the fat cap for the point so that I can render it to create beautiful burn ends. The knife I'm using is a 6-inch boning knife. Whose knife is this?
James.
James. I'm using James' knife, and James from Aiming and Claymem. Is that right?
Aiming
and Claymem. He's really sharp knife, so it's nice that you get sharp knives. It's hard to trim fat if the knife is dull. In terms of knife technique, you notice my hand is always behind my knife. I never have my hand in front just for safety purposes. I just want to mention that because some of my viewers may end up trimming the brisket and trimming aggressively. And you know, I want you guys to finish your trim with 10 fingers, not 9, not 9.5. And you may see me trimming fairly fast, but if you start off, I always tell people, just take your time. You're not under a YouTube timeline to trim your brisket, so just take your time, follow the instructions carefully, and then trim it, you know, at your own pace. Now, I said earlier that when you trim, you have to trim with a tactile feel. I have the same problem here. So as soon as I cut into this piece of fat here, I realized there is a ligament running here. So if the camera can zoom in, you can see there's a ligament right here. And when you touch it, it's hard. So this piece has to come off. So you need to trim both with a visual emphasis as well as a tactile emphasis to make sure that you get all these extra hard bits off. No fault of the cow. It's just a tough cow on this part here. So this little ligament or tendon is not going to taste any good at all. Alright, so this is almost done. Now obviously in a contest I would do a very, very clean trim, but for the purposes of this video I'm just going to do a trim, kind of a rough trim. It's good enough for just to illustrate the demo. It's hard to trim off all the fat because the brisket has already gotten soft. So ordinarily the best way to trim a brisket is when it's semi-solid. That way it doesn't fall apart in your hands here. Same idea as before. I'm going to trim off this end piece because the slices come from here. If the camera can zoom in here, slices come here, like so. Right, I'm going to trim this part off because I'm not using it. Trim this part off because this part is a little bit too short. Trim this part off. So it's kind of almost criminal. I'm cutting up a $200 piece of meat. And I'm sure Justin will enjoy making pot roast out of these pieces here. Same idea here. You notice how this piece, right, is laying over my point muscle. So it's flat, laying over the point. So under here, because of this touching here, because of the point underneath the flat, we're not going to get any bark. So this piece comes up. So, okay, so there you have it. a pile of fat here, and 3 parts trimmed off, and this Snake River Farm Black ready for the pit for hot and fast cooking. So what to do with all this beautiful beef fat and all these pieces? So some restaurants, what you do is they save these pieces to be ground into beef sausage. So all you need to do is salt and pepper, and maybe any kind of spices that you like, maybe a little bit of garlic powder and cayenne. You grind all this, you semi-freeze this and grind it in a number 10 grinder, and you make beef sausages. So this is how a lot of restaurants make use of the yield from the brisket trimmings. Nothing goes to waste. Every part of the cow is used. So now we have a perfectly trimmed brisket here. You have all the trimmings here, and this will make really, really good sausages. We trimmed the briskets and we're now ready to apply a product on it. So the most important item in your barbecue arsenal is the quality of the meat. We have 4 kinds of meat. We have a select, choice, prime, and Wagyu. Next thing you need to do is apply a good seasoning. You can apply salt and pepper on your briskets, they'll taste fine. Or you can use a product like this. I brought along my championship rub to share my YouTube friends here. This rub has won me first place Ranchers Reserve KCBS sirloin, as well as Ranchers Reserve first place brisket. So it's done really well for me. My rub has a few extra ingredients you typically don't find, such as powdered shiitake mushroom for umami. It also has things like celery seed for smoke ring, as well as Worcestershire powder. So we're gonna apply the product onto the brisket, and I'm gonna have my crew here do the same thing as we do it together. So you apply a medium coat of rub like so. And then the important thing to notice about rub is that when you apply a rub, it should be applied about a foot away so that it has a nice even distribution. Of course, if the wind will stop blowing, we can get this without kind of getting cover everybody. So after you apply the first layer, you pat it down. And then you just go back and repeat with the same muscle memory for another second layer. And the brisket, sometimes if it's dry, some teams like to use a schmear. So what's a schmear? A schmear is something like you put a layer of mustard on the meat so that the rub will stick to make a tacky surface. You can use different kinds of schmears. For example, you can use mustard, you can use Worcestershire sauce, you can use mayo. So it kind of is up to you. Some people even just spray water, but I'm just gonna apply 2 layers of the rub. One thing you need to know when you apply a rub is you never rub a rub down. And you might be wondering, why do you not rub a rub? Because when you rub a rub, the rub becomes uneven. So what you want to try to do is layer on the rub very evenly and then pat it down like a baby's bottom, like that. So first layer, second layer. So since I'm here in Baby Back Maniac's backyard, so I'm gonna say that you pat it down like a baby maniac's bottom. So if off camera, what I'll do is I'll pat his behind off camera so that this stays a G-rated YouTube video here.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right. So don't forget the back side. So this is the point. So you flip it around. Don't forget to get the back side. Very important. So get both sides. Nice even coating. We say in barbecue that when you apply the rub, you have to apply very carefully, because sometimes a $10,000 Grand Championship prize is separated by 1 too many shakes of rub or 1 missing shake of rub. That's it, you've lost the contest. So when I apply the rub at a contest, I take a lot of care to make sure that it's perfectly seasoned with the right amount of rub before I start cooking.
All right, we're gonna leave it right there for now, and it's just because I can't put up an 1.5 hour long video. As you can see, this one's already really long, and people complain whenever I put long videos up. So I'm breaking this one up. When I have it ready, I will, if you're watching this in the future, I'll put the link right here and you can go check that out. And I mean, you can watch it. For those who are watching this real time, be sure and subscribe so that you can see this, and hit that bell button so it'll instantly tell you whenever the video goes up, or any video goes up, because nowadays YouTube won't tell you when a creator uploads a video necessarily unless you hit the bell. It's really weird. They came out and said that. So please do that. I'll have links to all the videos in the Harry Soo series in the description box below. And if you want to see the first video we did where you can see how these briskets turned out, we cooked them at 400 degrees, so it's crazy. You can see that by clicking right here on this box. And for now, I'll leave you with some of the thoughts that Harry had that I've been thinking about since he left.
The key to cooking food is actually having fun, spreading love, building relationships, creating memories. That's really what's so special about barbecue.